Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Real Talk with Coach Sherri. And first, I really want to thank all of the new people that have joined the team, and thank you for my viewers that's been rocking with me since day one. I truly appreciate you all. Wish all of my line sisters, the 18 disorderlies, a happy Deltaversary. Today is our 31st anniversary. We pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated 31 years ago. We were 18 strong. Oh my goodness, my line. We were amazing. I love all of my line sisters, and yes, 31 years ago. I'm sure some of you are like, wait, I wasn't even born 31 years ago, or I was a baby 31 years ago. Well, I was 19 years old 31 years ago, and we crossed the burning sands into Delta Sigma Theta land. We're all still really close. I live relatively far from all of them. Many of them live in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC area, and I'm in North Carolina, so I don't get to see them as often as I would love to. Unfortunately or fortunately, shortly after college, and working, I would go back to my undergrad, my alma mater. But once I got married and, we moved so many different places, California, St. Louis, New Orleans, North Carolina, due to my husband's career. And because of what my husband did, he really was working the most during homecoming. So I never really got to go back to homecoming as often as I would like. So I didn't get a chance to really do a lot with my line sisters as we all grew and matured, but we all still remain very close. They're the closest women that I have in my life. And aside from my family, like my cousins, I don't have natural born sisters, so they are my sisters, all 17 of them, and I make 18. And we were called the 18 disorderlies because we were very disorderly. Oh my goodness, you guys. I wish I could have been our big sister, because I know we made them laugh. They didn't laugh in front of us because they had to stay serious, but we did some wacky things. Back then, when I pledged, we had to wear everything exactly alike. We had long black wool coats, skirts, like flesh tone colored stockings, black pumps, burgundy penny loafers, white sneakers, Oxford blouses, sweaters, button-down sweaters, white dress, black dress. And that's when we call it when pledging was pledging. We had to walk in one line. We had to walk in unison. When we walked on campus together, we would sing pyramid songs, because when you're online, or back then, when you pledged sorority or fraternity, you weren't called whatever that organization was. So as pledgees for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, we were considered pyramid. So my line sisters and I, we have so many funny stories, but I remember them all very fondly because they really, formed me. It was a very challenging, very difficult event to go through, to experience. It happened over a course of time. We had to eat the same food, so number one on our line would have to pick the foods that we ate. It was really interesting. I remember, especially during Hell Week, whoever was in the middle, so maybe like say number 10, would determine what we would eat. So if we had a plate with chicken, broccoli, and rice, let's just say that, number 10 would say, broccoli. We would all sit next to each other in a straight line, and we would have to take our fork, and whatever food she said, we put that on our fork, and then we would have to go Delta Sigma Theta bound and put it in our mouth at the same time. And could you imagine 18 people trying to eat the same thing off of their plate at the same time? And we only could eat as long as our big sisters were eating. And our big sisters were already members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and they were the ones that were pledging us. And we had to refer to them as big sister, whatever their name is, either their first name, or sometimes they may have created a new name for themselves. Like the dean of our line, who was kind of like our mother of the line, and she was also already a Delta. We called her Most Gracious DP. So she was the most gracious dean of pledgees. And at any rate, when we would eat like that, if our big sisters finished, we may have only gotten 2 or 3 bites of food. So you could imagine how much weight I lost while I was pledging. And so then, okay, with our dean of pledgees, we would have to go to her room early in the morning, like, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And we would have to stand in her room. It was dark in her room, and just stand there and basically watch and listen to her sleep until it was time for us to wake her up. And we couldn't say a word. We had to stand in a straight line and do that. Then the last week of pledging, it was called Hell Week, and we all wore black dresses, our coats, and a white veil over our face, and a hat. So while we were walking on campus, no one knew who the other person was. Like our friends on campus, they didn't know who was who because of the veil. But in class, we were able to pull the veil back, but we had to keep the veil on our face when we were on campus. And we had to wear the same thing for the whole week, which is kind of gross. And then we would sleep in one of my line sisters' room, and that was called the Duck Pond. She had a single, and we begged her, before we went online, we begged her to get a roommate so we wouldn't be able to use her room, but she didn't. And so we had to sleep in her small room. And by the time 18, unfortunately 17, number 17 on our line had gotten Lyme's disease. So she was sick a lot while we were pledging. But so 18, I was 16, and 15, by the time we got into the room, there really wasn't any space because we had to sleep on the floor. So I found myself sleeping like in the doorway, basically just sitting up, and the floor didn't have carpet. It was just a hard, like not even linoleum. I don't know what you call that in the dorm room, like just a hard floor. So not comfortable at all. We got very little sleep, had very little food, but we bonded. I remember one time while I was walking on campus, and Sigmas were pledging, had a pledge line as well, and some of the Crescents ran over to me. And on the weekends, you know, people who had already graduated would come and, you know, kind of get to know the pledgees and pledge them and do all kinds of things. And so it was around the weekend, and one of the Sigmas, I knew him really well, and he had already graduated. You know, he had a good job, or I don't know, a business. I just know he always had a lot of money. And he had sent the Crescents over to me to see if I needed anything. And so the Crescents ran over to me, and they were like, you know, Big Brother wants to know if you need anything. And I said, money. And I knew they needed money too. But they ran back to him, and he gave them money to give me. And they were like so reluctant to let it go because they needed money. And we needed money because we used to buy our big sisters food or whatever they wanted, really just to kind of keep them at bay. So basically, when you're pledging, that was a big thing. You want to have money so you can get your big sisters, big brothers, whatever they needed. So then you can kind of, be off to the side somewhere until they were done, but it just gave you a little reprieve. So I knew that they probably needed it, probably worse than I did, but I was like, look, I got 17 other line sisters I gotta look out for too, and we need this just as much as y'all, because we had a lot of big sisters. Our 25th anniversary, we went to the Gaylord, I think that's the name of it, the Gaylord Resort. It's in like Northern Virginia, DC area, and had a ball. We were there all weekend, and oh my goodness, it was an amazing time. And I think that was probably the first time all of us had gotten together, I want to say almost since college. I mean, here and there we've gotten together. Many of them were in my wedding. We went to others' weddings and stuff, but it really hadn't been all 18 of us. And so for our 25th anniversary, that was the last time all 18 of us were together. Now, they did have something around homecoming last year for our 30th, but many of us, myself included, were unable to attend. But I'm just really happy, and I feel very, very fortunate that we're all still here. I mean, I'm 50, we're between 50 and 52 years old, and life really happens. So I'm just really, really happy that we're all still here doing well, all have great careers, families, and, just doing our thing. So that is my story about pledging Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated 31 years ago today. Today is when we cross the burning sands. And unfortunately now I'm not really active. I do things that are Delta-like. I find my family and I do a lot of charity work on our own, and I kind of like doing it this way better, because I don't have to get a vote of 300, 400 women to determine if this is what we're going to do. When I know there's a need, I'm able to handle that need. And that started early in our marriage with my husband, where, we could just do different things, charitable works for community organizations or nonprofit organizations, and just things that really resonate with us, close to our heart. But I do still love Delta, and I feel like I still do the works of Delta, handle Delta business. We had 22 founders. They founded the organization in 1913. They did not want to be like a social club. These women, these dynamic women, they really wanted to have an organization that had a purpose, that stood for education, for service, and the things that they stood for are things that I stand for, that I respect, that resonates within me. And, it took a lot. In 1913, these 22 women on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. said, listen, we're going to band together. It's more strength in numbers, and these are the things that we're going to do, and we're going to do it with honor, with respect, with pride. And I'm just really happy that I was one that was selected for that pledge line in spring '89, and that I was able to complete it and not have any real incidents. I mean, it was crazy now, but that's for another day. At any rate, you guys, I hope you enjoyed my little trip down memory lane of my pledge process. Just a little bit. I didn't want to get too much into detail. It's so different now, that the way that people are brought into the organization. It's safer. I definitely can say that is much safer. Like I said, one of my line sisters caught Lyme's disease during our pre-pledging process. We were running in the woods, and that's a whole nother story. I probably shouldn't even be saying that, but yeah, it's much safer now, and it's a good bond. It's a great sisterhood, and it's an international organization. We're all over the world. You want to be able to bring value to that organization, and that organization is really just there to enhance who you already are. But if you're coming there just for a show, just to have it on your resume, just to say you're a part of it, that's not what they're looking for. If you pledge an organization, or if you are a Delta, please leave a comment below. Let's link up. My goodness. If you are Spring '89, that means you're my Sands, then please put that down below too. All right, everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning in, and subscribe. I talk about a lot of things. Real talk is who I am. That's what I do. But it's interesting because someone told me the other day, you're actually leaving your legacy. Your videos are sharing what's going on in your day-to-day life. And that's something that in the future, the far future, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren will be able to look back and say, wow, look at Grandma Sherri. Look what she was doing back in 2020. Look what she did back in 2019. So when someone shared that with me, that got me so excited. Like, you're right. This is really a video documentary of what I am, who I am, what I do, who I do, whatever, that, generations to come can look at. To motivate you, especially around workforce development, career readiness, all those things. But until next time, please remember, stay safe. And this has been Real Talk with Coach Sherri.